recording the conversation. Okay, thanks, Larry. I appreciate that. So Ryan, maybe log it into the phone another try. I wasn't logged in as the host yet, so you might be able to access it more readily now. Okay. All right, so we'll give folks another minute. I hope everybody's SRP has started out well this year so far. You guys are all getting some good sign-ups. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I see Louise is typing. Oh, great, Louise. I'm so glad. So welcome to the final webinar for the 2015 Nevada Library Leadership Institute. I appreciate everything that everybody has done so far and all the work and effort that you've all gone into to make this a successful institute. And I'm really looking forward to the next one, which we will talk about in a little while. So we do, as I said, we have a lot of material to cover in today's agenda, so I want to jump right into it. Just to give you a brief overview, we're going to start with School Partnerships Report. We're going to talk most about the Gallup Strength Finder, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the NLA Conference, and then the 2017 Nevada Library Leadership Institute. So with regards to school partnerships, I pulled out 6 of the partnerships off of the spreadsheet that we started back in December, just to kind of highlight. I'd really like to have those folks that are in the meeting today and that I've kind of highlighted out to kind of just give me a little rundown of your partnership over the next couple weeks via email. That way, and I'll email you so that we all remember. That way we can include some of this in the NLA presentation. If any of you would be interested in participating in the NLA presentation, please let me know so that we can kind of talk about that. That email will also go out in the next couple of days so that everyone can get a chance to say yay or nay they'd like to participate. We haven't put anything new into the spreadsheets since December, so there's really nothing new to report on that. I will report back to the group once I hear something from everybody on their partnerships. Is there any questions on that, on the school partnerships reports before I go on? I see Carrie is typing. Okay, great, Carrie. So you and I just go ahead and put it in the spreadsheet and then just copy it to me in an email so that I make sure I see it. Okay, so on to the Strengths Finder. So NLA purchased 39 codes to access the assessment. We purchased the full 34, the full access to all 34 strengths. I found it really interesting myself with regards to what it said about me, what I already knew, and what I didn't maybe know. I've also found it interesting just going through and looking at everybody's assessments and kind of how everything has happened with everybody. It's been good. It's been good. 33 of you have taken it. For those of you who haven't taken it, I emailed you yesterday to remind you to take it. Please make sure you take it. These codes were purchased with federal funding, so we want to make sure that we use that federal funding and make sure that these codes don't go unused. It's pretty important. Forrest is typing in something. I want to make sure that if it's a question, we grab a hold of it. Oh, go ahead and mute your microphones if you're not speaking so that there's not any feedback. Just make sure that you should be able to hover over your microphone and mute that so that you can, so we don't get any feedback. And maybe I can do it from here. You know, I'll pull your microphone rights away for right now, and then when I ask for input or whatever, I'll put those back on when we start discussion. Okay. What I've done over the last few weeks is I've analyzed the top 5. The top 5 assessed strengths for each person. And what we found that this is where all of you sat with regards to your top 5. These are the top 5 scorers. As you can see, number 3, number 4, number 5 were ties. They all were pretty much what I expected. But let's kind of go into them and see how you guys all read them. So our number 1 score was input and intellection. Both of these are strategic thinking strengths. They both really talk to collection, archives, and intellectual activity. They both really speak to librarians as a whole. So this was really, for me, it was no surprise. As I know many of you, I see many of you very much in both of these categories with them being the top strengths. Positivity was also a top strength, receiving 9 times it was showed up in your top 5s, and it's a relationship builder. There's a lot of children's librarians in the room, and I think that's kind of where that positivity really pulls in. For me, that's what I see. Understand that my interpretation of all of these is kind of just by what I know of you personally, all of you personally, and what I know from seeing you all work in many instances. So it's all personal opinion completely. So this was an interesting one. So the number 3 at 8 times each, adaptability, empathy, learner, responsibility, and restorative. It's interesting here because we get relationship building, strategic thinking, and executing all in one. Again, remember, these are your top 5 strengths. So I didn't look past your 5th strength. And actually, the only thing I saw when Gallup reported your results to me, and when a few of the people who had just recently taken the Strengths Finder independently reported their results, all I got was your top 5 strengths. So we'll get into more kind of where some of the other top 5 strengths, where they were at in and amongst the rest of you, and kind of how that ratio paired out. But I find it interesting, some of these strengths really kind of encompass what we all are as librarians or people in the library field. There wasn't anything very surprising. Developer and achiever being the number 4 with 7 times each. Relationship building and executing. Again, very interpersonal skills, hard workers, doing more with less, kind of some things that I've noticed about many of these strengths. And lastly, with the number 5 set at 6 times each, harmony, ideation, and relator. Again, back to the relationship building, strategic thinking, and relationship building. It's really very interpersonal skills. I know many of you of recent or many in the field have spoken with me recently about kind of interpersonal skills and wanting some additional information on interpersonal skills as well as employee management and employer relationships. So I find it really interesting how some of these are coming up with harmony and relator and these really big relationship builders. I'm going to go ahead and enable mics right now, and just please let me know what you think about what some of these have shown so far. Don't be shy.
Hey, Robbie.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Marcy. So
Hi, Marcy.
I'm gonna just here. Hey, how are you?
Good.
I found it interesting when I did my Gallup Strength Finder, because most of them were like for executing and being in adult programming. A lot of what my job entailed is, like you said, creating things, working with things with little resources, and being able to like put things together with, not a lot to work with. My top 5 themes, they weren't the first 2 that you showed, but on the third one, both responsibility and restorative, they were my top 2, and I just found that interesting for the kind of work that I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. So you're in a different department. You're in an SPS department, right? Still, yeah. Programming and services. So yeah, absolutely. You see some correlation between that executing being a little bit more prevalent for you based upon the majority of the work that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Go ahead, Rhea. So Rhea's typing. She's excited that we all primarily work with the public. Yeah. Empathy is a really big one. I think that empathy along with harmony, relator, and positivity, really kind of some huge relationship building, kind of public interaction being very important. Absolutely, Rhea. I totally agree. Is there anybody else? Oh, yeah, nice. Is there anybody else that would like to type in and add anything? Oh, look, now everybody's typing. Oh, nice, Carrie. I could see that with you. Hi, Soraya. Go ahead and speak up, honey, if you can.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm using the phone app. It's interesting. I love personality tests in general. I don't know, I find them fascinating, but this one was really, really accurate, which is interesting. It's a new insight to me, I guess. My number one was input, actually, and it talks about that you collect things, you're inquisitive, and I've always been a collector my whole life, but the way it's explained is um, I collect things to add to my inventory, my own internal archive, so that could be information, it could be a physical object, but I find that insanely accurate because I'm always, I constantly pursue new ideas and new knowledge because I think there's so much out there. So I love this test. Thank you for purchasing it for us.
Oh, great. I'm so glad. So let me ask you. So I'm seeing some of you aren't very surprised and some of you are kind of surprised by your results. Do you did you learn anything from them? Or do you think that you can kind of push forward and either expound on them or make them better?
Robbie?
Yes, Forrest, go ahead.
What I found is we did this with our part of our strategic plan. We had all of our staff take these, and what I find actually more fascinating than even looking at my own Gallup strengths was looking at other people's, because it gives you a deeper insight into how to kind of relate to other people, understand how they might react. And so that was really, in a group setting, it was really kind of neat to see people's strengths and where they lean to, so that you can see how you can, if you're working in a team, how you might talk to somebody where you could give them direct instruction. Other people, you might have to be more feeling with them, or, it is interesting to see for yourself and for other people.
Or even maybe too, Forrest, for you, I'm sure that you've thought about this as well when you're trying to build a team, when you've got a project that you're working on or you're focusing on, such as a strategic plan or a part of your strategic plan. You can look at your team and say, this person has this strength. This would be a really amazing strength to get this program off the ground and working. And that might be someone to pull in and make sure that they're on the team.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I was thinking about that myself and thinking about I found myself thinking about my strengths in, I think my top one was harmony and just kind of wanting people, it was in my top 5, wanting people to come to consensus and wanting to bring people together and make sure everybody is heard. Definitely something that I do on a regular basis, but also looking at some of my lesser strengths and trying to determine what I could work at to bring those forward and a little bit more towards the top. Megan, I like that, that you're trying to identify some webinars that you can take to increase some of those strengths that you've not necessarily identified as being in your top 5. That's awesome. I've been doing some of that myself. Okay, so let's move on because I want to get into this to this piece. So after I identified everybody's top 5 strengths and really kind of started pulling them out, what I did was I pulled them into those 4 categories: relationship building, strategic thinking, executing, and influencing. And what I found was something that I've kind of really identified it with librarians and with people in the library world. We are really great at relationship building. We are really great at strategic thinking. We start to lose some in influencing, and we start to lose some in executing. So let's kind of pull these down a little bit. And it's not to say that we're not good at these things. This is just kind of those areas where I see we could kind of build on. So relationship building, I'm going to read through these a little bit just because hearing them sometimes brings a little bit more out of the conversation. Those who lead through relationship building are the essential glue that holds the team together. Without these strengths on a team, in many cases, the group is simply a composite of individuals. In contrast, leaders with exceptional relationship building strength have a unique ability to create groups and organizations that are much greater than the sum of their parts. We have 53 people, 53 times the 33 of you that I analyzed, because I only had like 33 scores to go off of before this presentation. You can see 8 of you had adaptability in your top 5, 4 of you had connectedness, 7 of you had developer. So this is a really strong section for us. Relationship building is something that we as librarians seem to really kind of key in on and focus on and are a little bit better and more adept at. We also are pretty darn good at this strategic thinking. I mean, look at that intellectual score. Leaders with strategic thinking strengths are the ones who keep us all focused on what could be. They're constantly absorbing and analyzing information. Oop, I found a spelling error, and helping the team make better decisions. People with strength in this domain stretch our thinking for the future. Look at what we all do with strategic planning right now, and with looking at what libraries can and will be in the future as community centers, as places for engagement for all sorts of activities. So I think here, this is just really kind of additional proof that we're all kind of in the same, in the right field, I guess, maybe for ourselves. Where we start to slide a little bit, and it's still really huge, is executing. Leaders with dominant strength in executing domain know how to make things happen. When you need someone to implement a solution, these are the people who will work tirelessly to get it done. Leaders with the strength to execute have the ability to catch an idea and make it a reality. We still have a great many kind of areas of strong attributes here: responsibility, restorative, achiever. Nobody had focus in their top 5 as of yet. Like I said, we don't have everybody's scores yet. I'm missing still about 7 or 8 of the scores. So nobody had focus in their top 5. So this is kind of a really important thing to identify. Is this a strength that we need to build on as a librarian, or is it something that we're getting with other areas? And influencing. Yeah, Rhea, my focus is pretty low too. Influencing seems to be that one that's kind of lacking, and where I see influencing and where I see this slide as being really telling is the fact that we as librarians don't advocate for ourselves very well. We all work at trying to figure out ways of being more conversational with our advocacy, telling our strengths. So these people who lead by influencing help their team reach a much broader audience. People with strength in this domain are always selling the team's ideas inside and outside the organization. When you need someone to take charge, speak up, and make sure your group is heard, look to someone with this strength. For influencing, I see the heavy influencers being marketing folks. I'm sure Danielle Milam has many of these. Many of you who know Danielle Milam, she is the marketing, she's not marketing, she does grant work for the Las Vegas Clark County Library District, and she is amazing. I'm sure probably has many of these influencing attributes and strengths. This is just part of that place where we might want to work on to help us to advocate for ourselves, to sell our ideas, to sell our organization, both inside and out, and to make sure that we're being heard. What are your, so I'm going to go back to this last slide here and the strengths and just, what are these, we've kind of already talked a little bit about these. Were these findings expected or were they a surprise? The strengths that we didn't see in the top 5 being focus and self-assurance. And, you know, just, Carrie, I know you've mentioned this already. Has anybody else kind of made some strides towards bringing some of your lesser strengths into the forefront? All you guys' mics are turned on, so go ahead and speak up. Nice, Marcy. I see a bunch of people are typing. Go ahead, Marcy.
My results, I was surprised, but not surprised. It's like a little bit of both. I thought I would have had higher scores in different subjects, like analytical. I usually tend to analyze everything. So I was expecting that to be like one of my top ones. And it's like more than halfway down the list. So that was a surprise for me. Also adaptability. I thought that would have been higher for me, but it wasn't. It was lower on the total poll. The ones that were high for me, when I read about them, I'm like, oh yeah, that's totally me. So it's just a little bit of both. And
nice,
in terms of my results, in all honesty, you know, I've been kind of a little overwhelmed with work that I haven't been really able to focus on my strength finder and incorporating it with, you know, work and home and all of that good stuff. But I plan to.
Awesome, great, Marcy. I appreciate that. And you know, if you want to come back and let us know, or just email me and say, hey, you know, I did this, or I went and did this, I would love it, because I can include that in our evaluation of the Institute for sure. Nice, Josh. That's cool that your supervisor wasn't surprised. Go ahead, Megan. I agree, Rhea. You bring up a good point. The self-assurance piece is something that it also kind of, it really lends to that, to the influencing, because you have to be very confident. I could see that, Larry, with you. Larry, you have a lot more confidence and outgoing nature about you, but some librarians just don't. It's really kind of not a trait that we see readily. This is a really interesting conversation. Who else has anything to add? Megan, you put up your hand. Did you want to add something? Oh! Where was it at, Megan? That's interesting, Megan. I wouldn't have seen empathy that low. Go ahead, Marcy.
Okay, so I just wanted to add that although I haven't really focused on my results at work, I've taken on additional projects, which is funny because it's in line with my results. So I could easily say that, you know, this project has to do with this because that's like my personality. You know, it's what my results were. Like for responsibility and restorative, like I volunteered to be on our staff day planning committee to oversee what's going to take place during the event, what kind of team building that we're going to bring in, what kind of speakers we're going to bring in, what the day's going to entail. And I also want to make note of this during our staff day. So hopefully it's something that we can also bring to other staff members and see how it would help develop the library district as a whole. You know, inclusion for pages. You know, a lot of people forget about them. What they bring in addition to their normal, you know, daily tasks and stuff. They could be their own quiet leader. You know, I think at the institute they were talking about. I can't remember the name of the leader, but it was a leader who's not in a leadership position, but they take action and become the leader in that situation. Does that ring a bell?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. These are things that I was just thinking about that I wanted to share with you.
Oh, I think it's great. I think anybody who's looking at possibly bringing this into their own agency, you know, as Angela mentioned, Henderson District Public Libraries did the assessment for all of their employees prior to this, and so did Forest. And Forest might have been the one that mentioned it, but either way, both of those agencies actually had their employees take the assessment just prior to the institute. Oh, Angela said all our managers did, not the employees. And Forrest, I think all of his employees did. Forrest, you'll have to type into the chat if that's correct. Either way, we're seeing agencies kind of bring this in and try to bring those people in and use them to the best of their abilities, or figure out if there are ways to bring continuing education in to build additional strengths. Someone is saying deliberative. I think that's Rhea. It's good to have. It's good for supervisors to kind of know where the strengths and where the talents and particular attributes of their employees are, so that they know how to pull those folks in and bring them back and bring them into an environment that is productive, successful, and can bring your library into a community engagement kind of a setting, or can encourage those additional partnerships or those additional programming. All right. So, with regards to kind of pulling us back just a little bit, one of the things that I want to kind of move into now is talking about the NLA Conference presentation. We have been accepted by the NLA Conference Committee to present. I don't know what day we'll be presenting yet. I haven't gotten the schedule. What I see us doing is having a panel of 4 to 5 people to discuss the following, the 2 topics below, school partnerships and the Gallup Strength Finder. And then I'd like to bring in a little information about next year's institute, which by the time we are at the conference in October, we should have a date and location, institutes, and everything. So I need everybody to really start thinking and focusing on those people that did the school partnerships. I'm going to be contacting you. I want to kind of see if if any of you would be interested in coming in and speaking about your successes, your steps to success, your failures. And for anybody who doesn't know, there's a program run in the Southern District, NLA, that's called the Best of the Best. And basically, it's very simply sharing your programs, the best of your programs, with a group of individuals, talking about steps that you took, things that you learned. That's a really big key one. If you made some mistakes, or if you wouldn't do this particular step again, or if you wouldn't do, whatever, because you learned from that mistake, we want you to share that. So that would be something that we would want to include with the school partnerships. With the Gallup Strength Assessment, I think it's going to be kind of thinking about top strengths. Maybe Forrest might be interesting in coming in and helping with the presentation and talking about how he's used having his entire agency take the assessment to further his strategic plan. They just published a new strategic plan recently. So just kind of start thinking about that. So I'm going to start putting some emails out to the group talking about the conference presentation, narrowing it down to 4 or 5 key individuals that will serve on a panel discussion. We'll have access to like a PowerPoint if people want to pull up some information, pull up some statistics from the group or from your partnerships, or some photos. And what it'll do is you're being the representative from the Institute in sharing what kind of things that you learned or what takeaways that you had from the Institute. So I think this will be really great for people who maybe didn't get to attend the Institute, or maybe for people who are thinking of attending the Institute in 2017. Yeah, Marcy, go ahead and email me those and let me know what they were so that we can look at that inclusion for CSN or UNLV partnerships. I think at this point, Carrie Gaxiola is doing some partnerships herself. She's an academic librarian, so she's partnering with a high school, so that's even a different partnership. I think at this point, when libraries can identify additional partners outside of their walls, outside of their 4 walls, no matter what the partner, I think that we need to kind of encourage that. In this particular instance, we were looking at school partnerships, so we really want to try to contain it to that education piece. But it's interesting to see when libraries partner with other agencies and how that works. So the next step for that NLA presentation is I'll do a confirmation with those who'd like to participate in the presentation. Please, 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 for those of you who have not taken your assessments, it's important for you to get those done as quickly as you can. I will continue to email you until you do, so that we have all of the data, so that when we make our presentation, we're looking at the data from the entire group. We'll look at a selection of some school programs to highlight, probably 2 to 3 projects is what we'll choose to highlight, so that we have a good mix of failures, successes, and just some good suggestions for people who are thinking about doing those kind of programs in their areas. And then we'll schedule some online meetings to discuss the presentation, the PowerPoint, etc., with those folks that are going to be doing the presentations. I say probably those meetings are going to ramp up for the presentations probably mid-September to October, and getting everybody ready to go. It'll be a little easier to manage in so much as there'll be 5 or 6 of us. Is there anybody that has any questions about the steps through the NLA presentation? It's not something that you have to do, so if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But if you're excited and you're taking things a little further with your Strengths Finder or your school programs, I would really encourage you to step up and volunteer. I got a couple people typing. Yeah, Carrie, actually I was thinking about that. So what we would do is I would probably put out travel to training money. Not probably, I will. I'll put out travel to training money. So what I'll do is I would be able to fund potentially your registration to the conference and then your travel to the conference. That is contingent upon you not presenting, but attending the conference. So when I provide funding for travel to training, it's for continuing education. So to do that, I would expect you to go to, several of the conference presentations and see what else you could get out of the conference. But yes, there will be travel to training funding. Anybody else have any questions? Marcy's typing. I'll wait before I move on. Okay, awesome, Marcy. All right, so almost finished. Just kind of giving you guys a heads up for anybody who's interested. Our next institute is going to be in 2017, and we're looking at January, February. We're looking at Person or Reno. I know, cold weather. Don't y'all want that really bad right now? I would love to have to wear a coat right now. We're thinking about project management, personnel management, and data visualization. All of this kind of, if I do a project management umbrella, I can put in personnel management and data visualization right underneath that project management piece. Is there any other topics or focal points that you guys have seen and or looked at and thought would be really interesting or would really bring a good leadership piece to your agency that you'd like to suggest? You can. You don't necessarily have to suggest it now. I didn't ask in advance, so it's not like I gave you guys some time to think about it. But if you think of anything over the next little while, and it's kind of, oh great, Rhea, definitely send me something. That'd be awesome. I may not be able to include it in the 2017, but one of the things that I would really like your input on is basically, since you guys are kind of my inaugural institute attendees for this program and how I've set it up, what I'd like to do is, get your take on it. I will be sending out an evaluation of the overall institute and the programming that we've done through the institute itself, which you guys already evaluated, but I want you to kind of think back on it now, and then the 2 webinars here shortly, so that we have an evaluation of the whole process. But then thinking about that and thinking about how that setup progresses and brings you guys back to thinking about leadership, thinking about your strengths in this particular instance, what other topics might fit in that kind of a progression, in that kind of a discussion. Oh, data-driven collection development, that's a really interesting component. The problem that I might have with data-driven collection development, Megan, might just be its specificity. But that might be something that we can pull into project management as an example, and use that as a piece. Go ahead and email me that, Megan, so that I've got that on the list. Um, Otherwise, let's see, I'm going to let Megan, yeah, include that in the email as well, Megan. That's going to be a good piece, too. I'm always statistics driven, Megan. All right. Lastly, I just really want to thank all of you. You guys have all been really great participants. You've been energetic and engaged. You've made this first institute for me really successful, and you've all proven that you're good librarians and that you have your libraries at the forefront of your professional minds, and you really want to see them succeed. And I think that the work you do is spectacular. So I want to thank you for all the effort and for all the time and for all the commitment. And I want to, in advance, thank those of you who are going to volunteer to help me present at NLA, because I'm not sitting up there by myself. So think about coming out of your shells if you're not a presenter, and making time to present. And I will be in contact with you. And if there's anything else that any of you guys would like to add, please do so right now. Go ahead, Ria.
So it's a little bit, maybe it's interrelated to the Institute. And I know I wasn't
Sure.
the final day, but because of the presentation from Ms. Sass, we can call our, now have Career Online High School. So,
oh, great!
Yeah, I mean, I was so inspired and so excited. I took it back to Jill, who's my supervisor. She had just started, and she came from the Clark County School District, so it just ignited in her to just start getting money, and it's just awesome. So with the unfortunate situation where students have not been able to earn their high school diploma because they were unable to pass proficiency, we are getting calls daily for students to join Career Online High School in the Las Vegas Clark County Library District. So I just appreciate your vision so much. And I mean, this was a woman I had never heard of, but she's now changing because of her example in Sacramento. She's changing hundreds of, I mean, it's going to be monumentous in the valley. So thank you.
Ria, that's absolutely wonderful. I would love it if you would continue to share with me your successes with that, your first graduates, so that we can share that with Rivka and just send her a big thank you for that, because that's wonderful. I love that you did that. I love that you went back and just ran with that. Rivka was very excited about that Career Online High School as well, and very energetic and enthusiastic when she spoke about it. So we could tell how engaged it was and how community oriented it was and how just impactful it was to the people in our community. So I would love it if you would share that back so that we as a group can collectively help you and support you and give you the kudos you need, but also share that with Rivka, because I think that would be really lovely to share with Rivka. All right, thank you guys for all the thank yous. It's been a real pleasure working with all of you, and we'll continue through NLA and getting the presentation ready. And without any further ado, you are all free to go. Thank you very much, everyone.